Welcome back, students, to Resource and Technology. The module for today is Family and Consumer Management, and the unit is Fashion and Me. The topic for today is sewing tools and equipments. Thought for today: sewing without the right tools and equipment is like trying to cook without the right ingredients, and you know the result of that. What are the objectives? Number one, you'll be able to identify the tools and equipment needed for sewing. Two, you'll be able to define and state the functions of sewing tools and equipment. Three, you'll be able to classify tools according to their uses and functions. What are sewing tools and equipments? Sewing tools are instruments that aid in accomplishing a sewing task by hand or machine. Sewing equipments are the different tools used in clothing construction. Let's look at some samples of our sewing tools, which we'll be able to identify at the end of the session. Sewing tools are placed in categories. There are 5 categories of tools. Number one, measuring tools. 2, cutting tools. 3, marking tools. 4, hand sewing tools. 5, pressing tools. Now we're going to look at the categories samples. First, measuring tool. Measuring tools are used to help measure accurately. Now we're going to identify the different types of measuring tools. First one is tape measure. A tape measure is a long, flexible plastic strip with marks for measuring fabric and taking body measurement. The next tool, meter stick or yardstick. It's used to measure fabric, long straight drafting lines, and to check grain lines. The next one, seam gauge. It's a small metal 6-inch ruler with a slider used for measuring short distances such as seams, allowance, buttonholes, and hem. As you can see, it's measuring the hem. The other measuring tool, rulers. It is used to connect, measure, and draw straight lines, as you can observe. Let's look at L-squares. It is useful in connecting lines and dividing the garment into desired measurement. A perfect square used for making straight lines. Let's now look at the hip curve. The hip curve is used in connecting or shaping slightly curved lines, let's look at the French curve. French curve is a measuring tool used to shape the depth of the neckline and armhole of the patterns. As you observe, it's being used to shape the armhole on this pattern. Another category of tools are the cutting tools. Cutting tools help make clean cuts and trim unwanted threads. First cutting tool, dressmaker's shear. It's a large, sharp scissors used for cutting fabric only. It has uneven shape handles and sits flat on the table while cutting. Let's look at scissors. Scissors are all-purpose and generally used for cutting paper patterns. Let's look at seam rippers. Seam rippers, a handy wire rod with a hook and a blade used for lifting unwanted stitches away from the fabric. Let's look at pinking shear. Pinking shear are used to cut raw edges with a special zigzag edge, as you can observe in the diagram below. What is embroidery scissors? Small, sharp scissors for trimming and cutting into small areas. They are very sharp, so you are to be careful. Let's now look at thread clippers. Spring action short blades used for clipping thread ends. They come in several different types, shapes, and colors. They are also very sharp, so you have to be careful. Rotary cutter. It has a circular blade used for cutting fabric. As you can observe, it's also very sharp. Rotary mat. Without a rotary mat, you cannot use your rotary cutter. This is a special mat that protects the table while you are cutting. If you don't use a mat, then you are going to destroy the table or the tablecloth. The other category of tools are marking tools. Marking tools are used to transfer pattern symbols to fabric. First marking tool, tracing wheel. It's an instrument with multiple teeth on a wheel used with dressmaker's carbon to mark pattern symbols onto fabric. Dressmaker's carbon paper. Now the tracing wheel we looked at before will not be effective without the carbon paper. The carbon paper is a coated paper used for transferring patterns onto fabric with the use of a tracing wheel. Our very own pencils and erasers. Pencils are used for making sketches on drawing or drawing pattern lines. The eraser are used for removing your mistakes. Now let's look at the tailor's chalk. They are used to mark pattern symbols onto fabric that will disappear when pressed with an iron. The tailor's chalk, they come in triangle or rectangular shape. Let's look at dressmaker's pencil. They are special pencil used for marking fabric for sewing. They are also in many different colors. The pencils carry a brush at the top, which is used for brushing away mistakes that you have made. Another category of tools are the hand sewing tools. Hand sewing tools help to secure fabric and hems together, along with attaching notions. Our first hand sewing tool are pins. Pins are used to hold pieces of fabric together. Hand needles. Needles have one sharp end and a hole on the other end, used with thread when sewing by hand, as you can observe. And needles come in different sizes and different types. The regular needle for regular sewing, and you do have embroidery needle as well. Pin cushion. This cushion is used to store pins and needles. The strawberry cushion has an emery bag used to sharpen needles and pins and remove rust. You observe this is the emery bag that is attached onto the strawberry cushion. You can also make your own pin cushion, which you can wear on your hands as well. Needle threaders. They are small tools with thin wires used to help thread the needle. You can observe from the diagram here. First, you put the threader through the needle. Then you would put the thread through the loop of the threader. Then you will pull the threader through the needle and the thread will follow. A very easy way to thread the needle, especially for those who have eye problems. Now let us look at thimble. Thimble are metal or plastic tools used to protect fingers while hand sewing. They can either be metal or plastic, as you observe. Threads. It's used with needle to sew two pieces of fabric together by hand or machine, and the threads come in different sizes and colors. Embroidery floss or embroidery thread. is a special thread used for decorative stitches on your project. It's an embroidery thread which consists of 6 strands of yarns. Now this thread will help in sewing embroidery stitches. Embroidery hoops used to hold fabric firm in place while working the embroidery stitches. The hoop has a clamp, comes in 2 pieces. You put the fabric over one and you place the clamp on top of the fabric and pull firmly, and then you tighten with the clamp to hold the fabric in place. All the persons who do embroidery, this is very useful. Now the other category is pressing tools. Pressing tools are used to give the garment a professional finish. Now first pressing tool is iron. Iron is a metal appliance used to press or steam fabric while sewing. The iron board is a level or sturdy padded surface used for pressing. Now let us look at pressing cloth. It is used to prevent fabric from damage and to protect your fabric from direct heat, which is from the iron. Let's look at tailor's ham. Tailor's ham is a firm round cushion used for pressing curved areas of a garment. Those areas are like the collars or the shoulders or the tips. Anywhere you have points, this is good. Now let us look at some other sewing resources that are very helpful. First one is our fashion sketchbook. A fashion sketchbook could be any pad of paper or a book where you draw ideas of a garment as observed below. These sketchbooks contain croquis, which are nude figures, template that you use for drawing your design. Just draw the style you like right over these templates. As you can observe, these are the croquis. We use them to draw our sketches. Now, in this diagram, you observe this is the original croquis. You start to add features to her here, and then you would add your desired style feature to the final sketch. Let's look at the dress form or the dress model. It's a padded form of human body shape. This is useful for draping designs for making dresses. It's also used to check correct fitting. Now, as you observe, dress forms are in different sizes and different shape and different types. Mannequin. What are mannequin? A mannequin is a life-size doll used by tailors dressmakers, and designers, especially to display or fit clothing. You observe in this picture, we often see them in the stores. And here we can observe them just by looking through the store window as well. Students, it's very good for you to practice safety while using your sewing tools. Here are some safety tips. First one, do not cut over pins. Do not drop your shear or scissors. It will stop cutting properly. Keep pins in a pin cushion. Next one, do not put pins in your mouth or on your clothes while sewing. Next one, remove all pins from the floor. Do not walk with scissors open. Pass scissors by the handle only. As you observe, this little one is playing with the scissors, and that's wrong. And if you are not safe, you can injure yourself. So practice safety at all times. Activity time. Are you ready? Let's go. We have a few activities, and the first activity is you're required to make a sewing kit. You're also required to identify the tools to make your basic sewing kit. Are you ready? Let's go. Now let's make the basic sewing kit. Now we are going to identify some tools that you can put in this kit. Let's look at the first one. What is that? Yes, it's a pin cushion. Yes, we are going to need, what are these? Needles. What else can we put in the kit? Yes, you're going to put some pins. And your kit cannot be complete without a tape measure. What else will go in the kit? A thimble. Okay, we're going to put a needle threader into the kit. We must have some marking tool like a chalk, tailor's chalk. We need our tracing wheel. Yes, we're going to put a tracing wheel in there. We must put a thread nipper. What else are we going to put? Yes, you need a shear. And you also need a pinking shear. What else will go in the kit? You need scissors. What else are we going to add? Yes, we need a seam gauge for short distances. We are going to need some threads. Of course, we can have some buttons. We can have a few buttons of different colors. And we need to have bobbins. Is there anything else? Yes. We need to put seam ripper. So this will make up your basic sewing kit. Very well done. Activity 2. Identify the cutting tools by drawing a line connecting the cutting tool in the left column to the name on the right column. Let's go. Column 1, are the pictures of the tools, and column 2 are the names of the cutting tools. Number 1, what type of cutting tool this is? Did somebody say Pinkin Shear? Yes, you are correct. Number 2, yes, it's a dressmaker's shear. Let's look at number 3. What type of cutting tool is that? Somebody say scissors. Yes, it's a pair of scissors. Let's look at number 4. What type of cutting tool is that? Oh, yes, it's an embroidery scissors. Number 5 is a thread nipper. And number 6, as you can see, that would be a rotary cutter. Very good, students. Now, activity 3. You are going to identify the sewing tools that are selected from the list of tools. You're also going to identify the following categories of sewing tools. So let's go. Now, let's name some of these tools. We have a set of tools here, and we are going to name just the selected ones. Let's see which one first. Number 1. What's number 1, students? Yes, they are pins. Number 2. What's number 2? It's a pin cushion. What's number 3? Yes, they are some safety pins. What is number 4? It's a thimble. And we look at number 5. What are number 5? Yes, they are needles. We're going to look at number 7, and it is a thread. We look at number 11, and number 11 is what? A tailor's chalk. Correct. We're going to look at number 13. What's number 13? It's a tracing wheel. We're looking at number 17. What is number 17? It's a seam gauge. Correct. We're going to look at number 18. What's number 18? Yes, it's a tape measure. And number 19. What's number 19, student? It is a ruler. Very good. Now we're going to look at the categories of tools. We have some tools here, and you are to name the category of these tools. So you're going to observe each of them individually, and then you're going to identify the category of the tool. Now the first one, when you look in the first one, what type of tools are they? What category? Did somebody say hand sewing tools? Yes, you are correct. We look at this. We're now going to look at this set of tools. What type of tools are these? You have a tape measure, you have a ruler. Did somebody say measuring tools? You are correct. Looking at these, what type of tools are these? Yes, somebody said cutting tools. You are correct. Let's now look at this set of tools. Can you identify what the category of these tools are? Yes, pressing tools. And let's look at these tools here. What category are they? Yes, marking tools. You are correct. Thank you for joining me today, students. Join me next time when I'll be looking at the sewing machine. See you soon.